I have all of the stainless and brass pieces cut down. As you can see, they're a very tight fit. Can't show you with both hands, but that one's kind of jammed in there. You see it's a little irregular. But it won't slide into that sleeve without some amount of interference, and just enough so that I can heat up that brass in the oven, and I should be able to drop these stainless bushings right inside as it comes out of the oven. And then I should have my ring slug, and then it'll be a matter of machining the stainless steel faces down to about 1 millimeter thick, so I've taken about half of that width off, and taking the whole outside diameter of the entire ring down, considerably, we'll say. It's about a 2.5 thickness on that brass, and I'll probably take that down to about 1. The stainless on the inside should be about 1, so I want those to both match so they're even. So all that's left to do now is find my 4 favorite pieces. Out of the 5, the 6th one over there is a couple of thou too small, and it slides right on, and I need a little more interference in that. So I'm going to take this length down. We've got almost similar sizes of brass, but they are just a little bit different. Let's see if I can show you in the camera. So I'll have to cut sleeves individually for both of those to be half the length so that the stainless mates up perfectly within, and probably a little extra just so that I don't want any interference between the stainless bushings, you know, as they meet together in the middle. I'd like them to close all the way, so I think I'll just leave a very thin sliver of space on the inside of that I may later braze, but at this point I'm leaning towards no, just the interference fit with the stripe in the middle on the inside. Took the sandpaper and took down these edges. Let me see if I can show you. I didn't take that before. But I just took sandpaper, the edges that are going to mate up against the stainless. I want to be flat and free of burrs and everything. So I took those up to 1000 grit on the sandpaper. Not quite shiny or polished, but flat for sure. And next I'm going to be cutting the bushings to length. So the next thing I'll do is I'll mate up a pair of these for every sleeve because they're slightly different. Figure out the depth I need to cut these bushings down to, and then we'll do assembly. Okay, so I've got a setup here that's going to cut that to depth. I measured the width of the brass piece as 305 thousandths. That in half is 1525. I'm just going to round it down to 1500 to give me a little bit of space. So I need 150 thousandths. So I've got a 0 set here, you can see, and I've got a little slop in this so it won't start moving but it's 0 on the dial there. So, and this is 40 per revolution. So 1, 2, 3. That should bring me to 120, and you see I'm about 2 shy on the micrometer versus that, but I've got my micrometer set pretty much. I'm more confident in that than I am in the ways here. So we're at 120. I'm just going to keep going by the micrometer now, and we're going to go around to 150 thousandths, which conveniently is my 0 point. So now you can see I've got about that much left to cut, so I can bring it back off and start to chip away at it. And when I come back in to cut, it'll bring me back to 0, which should be right there. So that's the setup. I'm going to do that with each piece. To set the piece in there, I ground 2 sides of this block, and it can slide right in there, and I press it up against that so that I know that I've got a good fit. I'm going to back this off, make sure that we're running true visually. If I really wanted to get it in, I could set the micrometer on the piece itself and see if it's got any wobble, but let's Let's see. It's running about as straight as it gets. I put it in there pretty firmly. So I'll be right back and we'll start cutting. I wasn't able to set that out any more proud of those jaws. So what I'm going to do instead is, let me set this up. I'm going to cut it in reverse from this side so that I've got all that clearance. Because I should be able to come past, let's see. I should be able to come well past the ring before I get into any of the jaws, as you can see there. So I'll do some cuts on this, set up the mic, and go from there. Set up for the second ring. I'm just about to make my final pass. Number 2 came out to 330 thousandths. Half of that was 1650. This one, the shoulder measured in at 1645. So with the same setup, I should be able to continue. So I went to cutting the back side in reverse. And actually, that you can read is at 21. Oops. We're shooting for 15 for the final cut. Get your focus. Cut through to that depth. I'm going to go just a little bit past, right to there. I'm going to advance this in for a bevel on the outer edge. Just taking a little bit of material off, and then I'll come back to the other side. And I'll put a bevel in there as well. I gotta go forward now instead of in reverse. And I'll just pull this back until I see a little bit of a rub. There it is. And we're off. Let's see. Hold on, I'll be right back. So this is how I'm testing the width. If I can just clamp down on that, you can even see a little bit of daylight between the stainless. But as I pull this out, there's not even a discernible click. It's just about as tight tolerance as I can get. Filmed the heating and the fit up of these and was hoping they would just drop right in. It did not happen. Ended up, one of them got really squirrely on me and it locked up when it was halfway in, so I had to just eventually take a hammer to it to get it down. You can see it raised a burr of the brass on the inside and it's sandwiched in between, so I'll have to polish that on the inside before I can stick it on the mandrel. All in all, I think the marred surfaces are what I'm going to machine away, so these should be okay. And both of them did have a slight burr that built up between the two, so I think we're a couple of thousandths off of like fully sandwiching it, but aesthetically I don't think it should affect it very much. Alright, we'll be back on the next setup. On the sides of the ring, I don't know where my other one went. And then I'm gonna go ahead and do the comfort finish on the inside and sand and polish the inside really well. So, 5 or 6 more passes like this. And they should be there. So I cut in the bevel. It looks like, I'm just eyeballing here, but the two sides of stainless are about the same. The bevel's on the inside for the comfort finish. Now I'm just going to be taking a little sandpaper starting at 220 grit and going up to 1200. Do this very carefully so I don't lose a finger. Okay, so I took that down to mirror polish. I've still got to wipe off some of that residue in there. But I put the comfort fit on, and now all it's left to do is face the top to final size. This one I've still got to do the sides, in the inside, get rid of those burrs, etc. So I'll do that one next. Our final cuts on the outside of the ring. Just a little scratch pass here to start. Got some wobble to that. Let me see if I can figure that out. So there's a little bit of eccentricity to that mandrel. I'm going to have to come up with a better mandrel solution, but once you finish with the interrupted cuts, it'll just be slightly out of round for the inside, but all but on a lathe, you won't be able to tell. We're getting into the stainless there. And here should be the first full cut. Yep, I'll put the stainless, the brass. And now that we're faced off, I'll take a measurement. So I know that the inside of my ring was 18.1, the 18.1 millimeters. The inside of the next band was 800 thousandths, but it should be a millimeter on each side of that stainless, so 20.1. So 22.1 millimeters is what I'm going for on the outside, and I should be close to the original dimension at 24, 25. So I'm at 24.46, so we're just going to start hogging out that material. I want a 2 millimeter cross section. So I'll come back to you when I've gotten close to that final dimension. So I have finished the OD. It came down to 22.06, just a little under what I intended, but I'm totally okay with that. Now we're going to bring this up. Sorry, I'm not watching through the camera here. I'm going to bring this up until just before contact. On the right side, you can see I've already beveled. I went in 25 thousandths for that, so I'm going to do the same to this side. Let's back that off a little bit. Do I have the right? Yeah, I guess I do. That's 45 degree. Okay, we're going to bring this up to speed here. Try to get to a focus. I'm going to come in just until I make contact. There it is. And actually my handle is straight up and down, so to get to 0 shouldn't be too much. There we go. Now we're just going to feed in 10 to 15 thousandths and make sure we're on the right track. So here's 1 through 5, 6 through 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 18, 19, 20. Getting really close to that mandrel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 25 in. And a little jump to that. It is really hard to see that bevel at all. So So much for measurements. I think it just has to do with the ring being eccentric on that mandrel, I guess. It's got no play or wobble in it, and it might just be a trick of the light. So bevel is much smaller than this side though. So I think I'll probably end up off camera just feeding it by hand a little more till both sides kind of look the same. And then we just go to polishing. So I figured out my problem right here on this bevel. This right here, I hadn't tightened down these screws, I just snugged them up, and so it was kicking this cutter just over to the left. I moved it back in and cinched it up and was able to get that. I didn't get it exactly to the measurements, but I eyeballed it in. And if you look across the top into the white of that paper towel, you can kind of see. I think that's about as close as it gets. And now we'll do some sanding, which is another two-handed job. So until I get a cameraman, bye. Okay, so that's the video. I didn't get to show all the parts of making a ring, but the assembly and the final fit up I thought would make a good video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks.